Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
Do you think there is an argument that establishes that God exists?
Yeah, get closer to your microphone, please.
So, do you think there is an argument that establishes that God exists?
Yeah.
Could you give maybe like premise one?
To your microphone, please. It's very echoey.
Yeah, sorry. So, could you give maybe like
better, thank you.
the first premise?
Well, there's a variety of ways it can be presented. I could say we can recognize that God exists if and only if He has revealed Himself. Premise 2, God has revealed Himself. Conclusion, God exists.
So, I'm just writing it down so we can recognize that.
Yeah, so for example, so there's only one way that we can rationally justify the existence of God, and that is an appeal to the fact that He has constructed the world in such a way as to reveal His existence. If a line of reasoning, regardless of how sophisticated or powerful it may be, if it doesn't include referencing God revealing Himself, then there's no God to speak of. Okay?
Okay, so I'm writing this down. So, premise one is we can recognize that God exists if God has revealed Himself. Premise 2, God has revealed Himself.
Yeah, we can invoke that God exists if He has revealed Himself. Premise 2, God has revealed Himself in creation and through human history, therefore God exists.
Right. Okay, so I'm just writing this down, and therefore the conclusion is God exists. Right.
Yeah, I don't know how you would establish the existence of God without either a direct or an indirect appeal to the fact that God has revealed His existence.
Alright, so my problem here is that P2 assumes the conclusion, so it will be circular. Do you have like an argument for P2?
No. The conclusion is simply that God is. P2 is just simply God revealed Himself.
Which assumes that God exists.
No.
It assumes the conclusion.
No, it's God revealed Himself.
Which assumes that God exists.
It's not the same thing as saying God exists.
Yeah, but it assumes that God exists. So it's circular. Do you have like a non-circular argument?
No. Listen,
so you don't have a non-circular argument?
Listen to me, okay? The only way to establish the existence of God is to appeal to His self-disclosure, okay? So we say, if God, exists and He has revealed Himself, then we know He exists. God has revealed Himself, therefore He exists. That's not circular.
Does premise 2 presuppose God exists?
No, it presupposes that God revealed Himself.
Which presupposes that God exists. Do you have like a non-circular argument?
God revealing Himself is not the same. It's not the same proposition as that God exists.
I know, but it assumes that God exists.
No, it presupposes that God revealed Himself.
How can God reveal Himself if God doesn't exist, right? It assumes that God exists.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have an argument that for P2?
No, there's no way to establish God's existence other than that. There's no other rationale that one can appeal to.
Well, I mean, I think we're done at this point. You just don't have an argument.
Okay, good. So do you have an ultimate truth that you can ground? What's your argument for the ultimate truth by which there can be argumentation?
An argument for that. I just assume things.
Okay, so then you're guilty of the very thing you're accusing me of. Okay, no, sir. Is there an ultimate truth that premises must depend upon? Any premises at all?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but
Okay,
do
answer
you
my
have an
question, or
argument
we're
that God
done.
exists?
Or we're done.
Is there an ultimate truth? I think there's truth. I'm not sure what you mean by
No,
ultimate.
I said, is there an ultimate basis? Is there something that's metaphysically primary from which all secondary and temporal states or premises would derive and depend upon?
Well, I think that premises would presuppose the LNC.
Okay, so any premise that you will put forward, it'll either be the ultimate truth or it's derived from an ultimate truth, right?
What do you mean by ultimate?
Okay, it would mean that which needs no further justification. It doesn't derive or depend upon anything else. It's simply self-existent.
So,
So, for
are
any
you,
for any
just to be
premise,
clear,
for
are you
any
saying that
premise, okay,
God's
dude, can you hear the frustration in my voice? Listen
yes?
carefully. For any premise, the premise will either be ultimate or it will not be ultimate, which will mean that it is derivative.
What do you mean by ultimate?
Okay. Okay, meaning that it's unconditionally non-dependent and derivative. It's self-contained. Now, so for any
Right, so it's
premise,
not contingent.
okay, listen carefully. Listen, we're going to have a conversation. You're going to stop over talking me.
I'm just
Now,
trying to
for
clarify.
any premise, last warning, dude. Okay, is English your first language?
Yes.
Okay. Now, for any premise, okay, so since you believe that there are some valid and sound arguments, that for any premise that is presented, okay, how are you going to establish any premise? You'll either have to establish that it is ultimate, that it requires no further justification, it's self contained, absolute within itself, or the premise is going to require some justification because it's derivative in nature. Okay, so any premise will either be ultimate or not ultimate in that it is derivative. Do you understand?
Yes. Can I ask a clarifying
Okay, now
question?
how would you establish either one of those? By what means?
Which argument are we talking about? Are we talking about your
I'm
argument?
talking about any premise and any argument that you would conclude is valid and sound. So for a premise, how are you going to justify any premise that will either be within the category of ultimate or derivative?
Um, through through like an inference or something?
I didn't hear what you said.
Or an inference?
No, that's a non-informative response. Okay, how would you justify
Do you
that
know
which
what
is
an
ultimate?
inference is?
If what is no, I know what an inference is. You're just being general. That's not an informative statement. Do you know what a non-informative statement is?
Yes.
It's an answer that's not informative. Now, okay, how are you going to justify a proposition or a premise that is
Um,
not ultimate? That is, okay, listen to me carefully, okay, and don't overtalk me again. For any premise that would be within the category of being derivative, how would you justify the premise?
um, through procedural justification, like I think
That's
that's where I am. I take it that there would be
No, no, sir. Listen,
not
listen to me.
justified for an
Yeah, we're not
inference. Can
playing.
I
We're
just
not playing. We're not playing this game. Okay. How would you justify a premise or a proposition that is derivative
yeah,
in
so
nature?
yeah, so I think that I'm derivative, right? And I think that I exist. So the
Okay.
proposition
You're
I
not
exist
understanding.
would
You
be
don't. You wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Okay. Yeah. Appealing to Descartes' dictum, cogito ergo sum, isn't going to work because your experience doesn't being derivative. It doesn't justify itself. Say now. So I'm asking you again: if we have any derivative proposition, how would you be able to justify that it is?
let's just say I can't justify it. Do you have an argument that God
Right?
exists?
Yeah, I have an argument that God exists because He revealed Himself. Do you have an
Yeah, but
argument?
that
Do you have
like
an arg? Hold on a second. Do you have an argument that you know your mother's middle name?
no. I mean, it would
Oh,
just beg the question.
okay, so you don't know your mother's middle name?
I think I do.
Okay, so
But I
so
could be a brain in a
you
vat,
believe you
right?
do. Okay, no,
But I
how do
could
you
be a
know
brain
that?
in a vat, right? Well,
No,
there's
you
no
don't.
logical
How
contradiction.
do you know? How do you know that that's a possibility?
There's no contradiction.
No, it doesn't have to entail a contradiction. Okay, the issue is not a logical possibility. We're talking about metaphysical possibility. Okay, so obviously you conflated logical possibility with metaphysical possibility. So when you
Oh, I
say
thought
that
you were
you
assuming
could be
logical
in a when you
possibility.
say you could be in a when you say you could be a brain in a vat, are you
I'm
saying that
saying it's
from an
logically
open?
possible.
Listen to me. Don't overtalk me. When you say you could be a brain in a vat, okay. Therefore, you now destroy everything you say to me.
Okay. Do you
This
have
is
an
the
argument
same
that God
thing.
exists that
Listen
doesn't?
to me carefully. When you did you just say you could be a brain in a vat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's game over, lights out. You have just bit down
Okay.
on the philosophical cyanide capsule, and here's why. Okay, this is just a slightly altered version of the Cartesian demon. Do you realize that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once you admit that there could be, as we call it in philosophy, a Cartesian demon deceiving you about everything, then it's over. You're done. You've just committed philosophical suicide.
Wouldn't that apply to you as well?
No, because I'm not positing that we could be in a brain in a vat.
Do you have a
I
defeated for that
listen very
position?
carefully. Listen carefully. I'm coming from a closed system. You're coming from an open system.
Do you have an argument that God isn't lying to you?
Okay. Do I have an argument? Well,
So what's premise one?
unless you acknowledge, okay,
Unless you
that you're
acknowledge.
in a world. Okay, you know what? You can fuck off. Okay, because number one, you
Just
lied
writing
to
it
me.
down.
I have talked with you before. You're a little weasel troll that I've talked to before. You weren't honest to me about your previous screen name. And when I started speaking to you again, you started interrupting me and and repeating the same shtick all over again. Okay.
I'm just writing the argument down.
Okay.
So
All right.
unless
Yeah.
you
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You're done. Okay. You're done.
do you have
Yeah. You're done. Okay? So the guy goes, "Well, do you have an argument?" Well, why would arguments be meaningful at all if we could be in a brain in a vat? So the guy's just fucked himself. Okay. This is what we call sophistry. Okay. Yeah, he wasn't being honest. This is a troll that I've talked to before. Okay. So the guy's asking for valid arguments, but he could be in a brain in a vat. Every premise that he believes to be true, or that he would invoke in any kind of premises in an argument, could simply be illusory because he's a brain in a vat. Okay. I mean, the guy just screwed himself, but he doesn't care. I just presented him with the fact that what he just admitted totally destroys anything he says hereafter. Did you get that, Tom Rabbit?